Assalamualaikum. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good, and you?
Alhamdulillah, we're good. Okay,
Alhamdulillah.
maybe Mama first introduce.
Hi, very good. Is it morning or afternoon over there?
It's morning. It's 10 a.m.
Okay, yeah. So very good morning. So actually, we're going to go through several questions, and if you just have any questions towards us as well, please ask. So yeah, Sarah, just first of all, can you tell us about yourself? What is your background? What are you doing actually in Belgium right now?
Okay. Well, I'm Sarah. I'm 22 years old. I'm actually a law student. I'm gonna start my master's soon, my master's degree, hopefully. And I've been an activist, I guess you can say, for a long time now, thanks to my mom. I've always been involved in social justice questions, and that's about it.
So, are you actually like a nationality, as a Belgium, or you are actually coming from other countries?
I was born in Belgium, but I actually grew up in Reunion Island. I don't know if you know where that is. It's near Madagascar.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, but it's a French island, so it's the French system there. But yeah, I grew up in Reunion Island, and I came back to Belgium 5 years ago when I finished high school.
So you have been staying in Belgium for around 5 years right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we would like to know, as a Muslim over there in Belgium, how does it feel like to be a Muslim in there? How do you think of people perception towards you as a Muslim?
Yes. Well, being a Muslim, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, being a Muslim is great, yeah. Obviously, of course. But how do people perceive you as a Muslim over there?
Yeah, obviously we're in a Western country, so religiously speaking, we are a minority. But you have to know that in Belgium, there is a strong Moroccan and Turkish population. So there are a lot of Moroccan people and Turkish people. So we do see a lot of Muslim people around, especially in Brussels, which is the capital. But it's still as in most Western country, white supremacy and such. It's still something that gives you a minority status, I'll say. So it can be hard. And I feel like in each field of society, whether it's work or studies or just social involvement in associations and such, it can sometimes be a barrier of sorts, especially when you're wearing the hijab, because it makes you visible. And I guess being a Muslim in Belgium, especially a Muslim woman who is wearing the hijab, does a lot of the time put some kind of target on your back, and you can be you're subjected inevitably to discriminations in the study field and in the work field. And so it does have its bad sides, I'd say. Thankfully, we're not like 10 Muslims in Belgium. There are a lot of Muslims in Belgium, but it's, as in most Western countries, there's a lot of institutional racism, and that creates discriminations for Muslim people and for Moroccan people and Turkish people. So yeah.
But despite being that, I mean, like, is it easy for you to actually access, for example, like halal food or even going to the mosque? Like, how does the accessibility as a Muslim over there?
So, as there is a strong Muslim population, we do have our own institutions, I say. So we do have mosques and we do have Muslim schools and Quranic schools, but yeah, it's still sometimes it can still be hard because we're in the Western countries and politics get in the way, as there's always those political parties who want to secularize the country, and those parties tend to go after mosques and go after any Muslim institutions, trying to kind of erase the visibility of the Muslim communities in Belgium. But I guess that's just like on the political side. But in reality, yes, we do have our institutions, we do have our safe spaces, and so that's a good thing. I feel like that's a chance of sorts, because I guess it's not like there are people who have it harder in countries where there is little to no Muslims. So we do have mosques, we do have places we can go and practice our religion. But as in when we start talking about the public spaces, that's where it causes a real problem for, well, in politics at least, because they do want, a lot of the political parties want to secularize the country. And yeah.
But does Islam still consider as the second biggest religion community in Belgium? Because actually our team has did some research and then we found out that actually Belgium has the the Muslim in Belgium is actually the second largest population. Is it true?
Well, I haven't checked, but I do think it's true, because as I said, there's a lot of Moroccan, Turkish people who are Muslims. There's also like people from Pakistan who are Muslim. So yeah, probably. I guess Christians are the first religious community, but yeah, those numbers seem right. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So actually, we want to ask the question as like, so the reason why we are actually contacting you is that we heard some kind of issues that is happening around Belgium regarding the banning of the headscarves. So maybe you could provide us more information about it.
Yes, of course. So you have to know, in Belgium, throughout the years, Belgium started to ban headscarves more and more, I guess. So you can't wear a headscarf or any religious sign or political sign in the public function. So if you're a judge, or if you work in an administration, a public administration, you can't wear any religious sign or political sign. And then I guess about more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, about 15 years ago, I think in 2002, I'm not sure, I'd have to check, they banned religious signs in primary and secondary education. So in high school, you can't wear a headscarf. So teenagers, if they want to wear a headscarf for their religious practice, they can't wear it at school in Belgium. And now the problem is, we already have a few schools of higher education who forbid the the wearing of the headscarf or any religious sign. So we do actually already have that problem in Belgium for, I think 20 years now. So where I think universities, they mostly accept the headscarf. It's other higher education schools. In Belgium, we call them haute école, hogeschool. So those schools, they tend to have rules banning. And there's a trial between the reason we're speaking about it now is there's a trial between students and one of those higher education schools that has enforced a religious sign ban. And that school has banned religious signs has been banning it for 20 years or so, but students decided to speak up and go to trial to start to counter that ban. And so the trial is still in process, but the judge decided to ask a question to the Constitutional Court. And recently, the Constitutional Court decided ruled that this ban does not go against the Constitution and does not go against the freedom of religion and the freedom to, the right to education.
So meaning that it was actually started 15 years ago, and then the ban is not just solely imposed on Muslims, meaning that other religious community also has been affected by this, is it right? Okay, yeah. So since 15 years ago, is it like legally, the rule has been rolled out from the government itself, or is just coming out from the education institution itself?
So in secondary education, so in high school, there's a law forbidding there are actual laws that forbid that ban religious signs in high school. So that's a law. But when we talk about higher education, there is no actual law. It's more like now the Constitutional Court looked at decrees that are existing, which we call neutrality decrees, and basically interpreted them in a way that says those decrees allow a higher education school to ban headscarves. So it's not actually written black and white clearly. It's not, there's no law that says clearly that a higher education school should ban religious signs, but there is a law that talks about neutrality in education, in all education establishments, and those decrees, they were read by the Constitutional Court in a way that says, because of this principle of neutrality, you can enforce a ban on religious signs. And that's what we're going against, because this ruling of the Constitutional Court is a problematic interpretation of those decrees, because the fear is, because the Constitutional Court read the principle of neutrality as a way of banning religious signs in higher education, because they read it like that, there's a fear that more and more higher education establishments will enforce such a ban on religious signs, which will restrain the access to education for a lot of Muslim women and for a lot of Jewish men and Sikh men. So yeah.
Yeah. So actually, it's now the issues are evolving around the higher education, right? I mean, that's the
Higher
main.
education.
Yeah, higher education. So, is it the higher education? Is it like the pre-U? Because you said that it's not evolving around university, but it's evolving in the higher education itself. So, does these higher educations actually involving like pre-university or foundation? So, if you can give us a little bit details on that.
Okay, I'll try to explain it. But it's hard because I know the French words for it, so I'll try to explain it. So you have in Belgium, you have universities, but you have also what we call haute école, which is well, literally it means high school, but it's not high school as in where teenagers go to. It's kind of like universities, but you have shorter terms of educations. So usually in those haute école, the courses is 3 year long. You don't have master degrees and such in those schools. So they're supposed to be more accessible. And most of the time the studies that those schools how do you say it? So most of the time, what those schools are offering as is more specific than what you may learn in universities.
Okay. But does the level is the same as the university? I mean, does the level of education is actually the same or is lower?
It's more or less the same. Universities still retain this prestigious aspects. So it's perceived as more prestigious to go to university. But those schools still have a good level, and it's still a good level of education. And as the studies that they are offering are more specific, a lot of people go to those schools because they're they give more direct access to the work of your choice afterwards, let's say, because it's more specialized.
Okay, so now we get a picture actually, because we don't really, we kind of have similar to higher education that you talk about in here, but we do have a different term for it. So for this particular issues, especially first in the Muslim community, how's the reaction? Like, what do you guys feel about this, and then what do you guys think about this?
Well, as a community, I think a lot of us were shocked, especially because after the ruling of the Constitutional Court, there was how do you say it? So sorry, I'm trying to see how to phrase it.
Take your time, please. Please take your time.
Okay. How do you say it? I'm gonna search the word because I don't want to say something wrong.
Because we know that it's not easy. I think especially like for us, for Indonesian, we are as a Muslim country, we can actually quite free to express our identity, but whereas our brother and sister over there having such condition, and yeah, we understand it's not easy. So yeah, please, please just take your time.
Okay, I have the word. Okay. So after the Constitutional Court gave its ruling, there was a statement from the city of Brussels who said that they were rejoicing to hear that the Constitutional Court gave such a ruling, which was very shocking, because when as a Muslim woman you read the ruling of the Constitutional Court, it's quite shocking. It's like, will I have access to education, or will they just restrain it even more than what it's already in Belgium because of this ruling? And then you read the statement of the city of Brussels, who's like, oh, what a happy news. The Constitutional Court decided to allow the ban of religious signs. So it was really shocking. So I guess some people within the Muslim community reacted very strongly to that, because, well, it's kind of stomping all over our fundamental rights. And yeah, so there was a strong reaction to it, I would say, and because people were shocked, and there is an actual fear of having the access to education for Muslim women being even more limited than what it's already like. Because since the higher education schools we talk about give for some more specialized education, it's a problem, because sometimes if you really know what you want to do and what you want to study, there are some study fields that are very hard to access as a Muslim woman because of those bans of religious signs. And even if all of those rulings and laws and such are banning all religious and political signs, when you read them and when you actually get into them, you know they are aiming clearly at Muslim women and not really at the rest of the religious communities.
So, like, you feel that actually the rule is rule for, for general religion, but actually, if you really read about it, it actually gets towards the Muslim woman, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. It's clearly aimed toward Muslim women, but they make it general so it's more acceptable, because otherwise it would be blatant discrimination. And since they cannot discriminate as openly as they would like to, they do make it general, and so it does have a real impact on other religious communities. I was talking about Jewish men who want to wear the kippah, for example. So those rulings, they do affect those communities as well, but I do believe that political parties and judges, when they make those rules and when they make those rulings, they are aiming at Muslim women.
So meaning that the rule has now ruled for legal, right? Or is it correct, or is it still being discussed, the rule itself?
Okay, so it's still in trial.
Still in trial. Okay.
So I was talking about a trial between one higher education establishment and some students. So this is still a trial that is going on. What happened is the judge in this trial asked a question to the Constitutional Court. And basically the question was, is this religious ban, is this banning of religious sign in a higher education establishment a violation of liberty, of freedom of religion, and a violation of the right to education? Basically, that was the question, and it's specified in the question specified that it was a higher education establishment, so we were talking about adults and not teenagers. So the debate was clearly aimed and clearly concerning higher education establishments, as it was clearly specified that it was adults and not that we were talking about adults. So the Constitutional Court ruled that it was not a violation to the freedom of religion, and it was not a violation to the right to education. But now we have to wait for the final decision of the judge who asked the question to the Constitutional Court. Yeah.
Do you remember when the trial actually started? Like maybe the month, if you don't remember the exact date.
No, I don't actually remember.
Okay.
But it's not the first trial that happened around this subject.
So it has been done for quite several times, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of higher education establishments that do ban religious signs.
We heard some news that we would like to confirm with you as well, that because of these issues, quite a number of Muslim women in Belgium actually kind of just give up and then take off the hijab. I mean, like, is it true? Like, what do you see about this information that we get?
Yeah, obviously, there is a time where some of us are kind of forced to make a choice. So because you have your dreams and the work you want to do, and you have your ambitions, and if you really want to get a specific education, and when you go towards this the establishment that can give you that education and that can give you the diploma you need to work in the field you want to work in, and if this establishment has a ban on headscarves, you do have to ask yourself the question that, well, do I want to take it off and take it upon myself to go through that for a few years? And get my diploma, and then I'll wear the hijab again, and then I can work. I can have the work of my dreams, basically. Or you just give up on your education, or you give up on your dream job, and you give up on that, and you keep wearing the hijab. So it's a very hard choice, but it is a choice that a lot of girls in Belgium have to make, unfortunately, or they have to give up on what they would have studied if there weren't such a ban, and choose another field of studies where they can keep their hijab. But maybe if they choose that other field, it's not actually what they wanted to study. So that's where the problem lies, in my eyes, at least.
Well, like you say that the rule itself is actually written as for a general any symbols for the religious, but you feel that it's actually targeted towards Muslim women. But as a community and as an activist yourself, have you tried, you and your team as well, have you guys tried to talk to the other religious communities about this?
So we do have. So what we're doing right now is we're organizing a protest, and we do have allies from other religious communities. but we felt like we had to focus. This time we had to focus on Muslim women and not on all religious communities, even if we do realize that it's not only Muslim women who suffer from those bans. We felt like we needed to give a voice to those specific women because they are, in my eyes at least, the ones that are suffering the most because of those bans. And they are the ones who should be heard, because it's a very harsh reality, you know, to have to choose between your dreams and your religion. It's so it's a very harsh reality that is shared by a lot of Muslim women. So we made a conscious choice to focus on the realities of Muslim women in our action, but we do realize that it does target, well, it does have an effect on other religious communities, or not even religious communities, because since it's a ban on religious and political signs, it can even have an effect on like the LGBTQI communities if they want to like wear the LGBTQI flag on a t-shirt and such. It could be like a problem for them. So yeah, we do realize it does not like have an effect only on Muslim women who want to wear the headscarf, but it's such since it does feel like it's targeted, and it does feel like they are the ones who are suffering the most from those rules. We made a conscious choice to focus our actions on Muslim women and not on all those communities who are touched by the ban. Yeah.
So the protest that you guys are doing right now, is it a public protest or what kind of protest? I mean, like how long you guys have done it, the protest itself?
So the protest will take place on the 5th of July, hopefully. And so it will just be like a public protest. Yeah, we will go hopefully in front of the well, either the constitutional well, I won't say the location. Let's not talk about the location. Yeah.
Okay. It might be dangerous as well if government found out, I guess.
Let's not talk about the location. So we're organizing a protest on the 5th of July, public protest. We have good reactions. We're hoping to have a lot of people there, and yeah, it's just a regular protest.
So those in that one, the July protest will be the first public protest that you guys will do, right?
Yeah, so
is it the first or maybe the second?
No, on this issue particularly, it's the first. It's the first protest we're doing. Yeah.
You intend to continue it, maybe like the next day or maybe the next week after that, or you guys are actually gonna see how does it, the protest will be actually coming first on the July, and then after that you will actually move on to the next plan.
So for now we're focusing on July 5th, but obviously it's not gonna change in one day. So we'll have to pursue our action until things change and until our voices are heard. So we will not give up after July 5th. We will have to, well, keep the fight going, basically. And we're also working in collaboration with the Collective Against Islamophobia in Belgium. And they are well, they are kind of part of the trial, and the trial will not be over in July 5th, so it will go on for a while. And I feel like we do have to show support and get behind those students, those girls who are in trial. And so we obviously cannot give up and just forget about the issue after July 5th. We must not forget about it. So we do hope to keep it going and keep fighting until Muslim women are heard.
Yeah, so maybe the next question maybe gonna be quite a boring, not a boring, but we see that these days people are really talking about BLM, if you recognize, right?
Yes.
BLM, and somehow actually the issues that is happening in the world is not just BLM. We got an issue is in Belgium. We also got an issues in Yemen as well, and it just feels like as a Muslim we don't really get the exposure that we need. So, what do you think about this? Specifically BLM. Like, do you think it's actually going to help other Muslims as well, especially for a Black Muslim, or you just feel that it's just another protest that's not gonna affect us as a Muslim?
No, I do feel that those fights are very tied, because we're talking about institutional racism, basically. Whether we're talking about BLM or whether we're talking about Islamophobia, for me, it's systemic institutional racism that has to be that we are fighting. And there is like a reality of police violence in Belgium as well.
Okay.
So we do have, unfortunately, victims of police violence in Belgium, and a lot of them are Muslims, and a lot of them are, there is a stigma around Moroccan people and Black people who are targeted because of racism and because of institutional racism and because of racism in the police force. So it is a reality that is very present in Belgium. Police violence does exist in Belgium. So the BLM movement the BLM movement as a movement who is a reaction to police violence and a reaction to institutional racism. Belgium, I feel we did have a protest a few weeks ago. Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, maybe. At the beginning of the month, basically. We had a BLM protest which reunited it was between 10 and 20,000 people at the BLM protest in Brussels. But I do feel like we do have to look at each fight and each fight individually, because what we are asking for is not exactly the same. So the BLM fight should and is about Black people, and it should not. I do feel it should not. We should not talk about other communities. We should focus on Black Lives Matter and not talk about other communities, because the injustice that Black people in general have to face are not to be compared with injustice faced by any other communities in the world, in my opinion, at least. So BLM should focus on Black people and Black people only. That's my opinion, at least. But we do have to acknowledge that it is a fight against institutional racism, and our action, even though it's not focused on Black people and it should be seen separately, in my opinion, it is tied because we are both fighting, both movements are fighting against this institutional racism. So yeah.
So for this particular issues, for the one in the Belgium, we would like to know if you and your team as an activist has actually tried to contact any politicians. Is there any Muslim politician in Belgium, first of all, that is actually has talked and then work on this as well?
Yeah, there are Muslim politicians. There are politicians who are trying to change things, but unfortunately, the strongest political parties in government are not really on our side, I'd say. We made the conscious choice to not work with politicians for this protest and for this action because we are going against them, basically.
Oh, okay.
So we do not want to. We have no wish to work with them because we're basically going against them. We want their policies to change, and we feel like trying to work with them and trying to talk to them in a diplomatic way will not help the cause at this point. Maybe we probably will have to have a more political speech in the future, but right now we're not. We have no wish to work with the political parties. Yeah.
Okay, so we understand that, as you mentioned before, that you guys do not want to work with politicians, but has any of these politicians has ever contact you? You know, maybe like saying, okay, I need a backup as my support in the politics. I mean, is there any politician that actually has tried to do that with your team or maybe with yourself?
No, so it's very recent. So for now, we had attention from medias and from regular people, but we did not have any contact with any politicians. And well, that suits us for now. We've only started this about a week ago, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so this is very recent. But we do, as I said, we are working hand in hand with the Collective Against Islamophobia in Belgium, and they do a lot of work with politicians. They do discuss Islamophobia in Belgium with politicians to try and make things better in that field. So that is a work that is very important, I feel, like trying to work with politicians to make sure that the rules and the law in Belgium is seeing the reality of religious discrimination. So that is a work that is done by the Collective Against Islamophobia in Belgium, but we do feel like we should let them do that part of the work, and we're doing the protesting and loud and kind of fighting part of the work. Yeah.
But do you think actually, like in the future, maybe it's needed that you as an activist and then a politician actually working together, because you know the exposure that is will actually coming will be able to become a bigger if you guys are actually working together. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is it actually needed in the future, or you just still believe that let's just work separately?
I do feel, unfortunately, we do have limited power as regular people, so we do not have any legislative force with us. So the system is made in such a way that at some point you have to work with politicians, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But right now, as I said, we have no wish to do that kind of work. Probably in the future we will have to, but I think we will not, as long as we do not feel like they are really willing to hear us. because the problem in Belgium is we have a lot of, well, we feel like there is a lot of hypocrisy within political parties, where they are going towards Muslim people because they know that they need the votes of our communities. But as long as we do not feel like they are willing to hear us and actually hear what we are asking for, we will not work with them. As long as we do not feel heard, we will not be going towards them at all. Yeah.
Okay, maybe one of the last questions that we will have to talk about. So if you could share with us, maybe, what is the plan that you guys have? So you guys will actually have the protest on July, and then what the other things that you guys are planning to do?
So we have the protest on the 5th of July, but we are also doing a work where we encouraged Muslim women to speak about their experiences in the work field and in the study field. And we have already received hundreds of stories from Muslim women all around Belgium. And we do feel that it's an important part of it, because protesting is good, but we want to give a voice to those women. And so we're really trying to kind of humanize them, because we feel that the problem is politicians and lawmakers and, well, judges and stuff, they do not see that those rulings and those laws are affecting actual, very real people. So we are trying to show those politicians, and we are trying to show those judges that everything they do has a real impact on actual people, and we are trying to make those stories heard. So we're doing, well, we started to archive a lot of stories of Muslim women throughout Belgium, and we've received hundreds of them, and we're really happy about the reaction, and we're hoping that this will serve to show the realities that Muslim women face in Belgium. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we are actually going to end the interview, but before we end, so obviously the information that we got from you, we will process it, and then we will actually make it as a media, and we hope that, especially for Muslim Indonesia, they will be able to get a message and then to support you as well, and then our brothers and sisters in Belgium. So if you have maybe like a little bit words for us, for Indonesians, regarding this issue, what do you want to say?
Well, I guess I would like to say that we need all the support we can get, because what we've realized the past week is the more attention we get on social media, the more attention we get from actual medias, and the more attention we get from the people we want to be heard by. So we need all the support we can get. We need people to start talking about the issues that are faced by Muslim women in Western countries, and in Belgium, especially here. So we need people, even in Indonesia, to talk about it and to make us visible. So yeah, that's just, please just support us. Please talk about it. Try to spread awareness on the issue, and because we need to be heard. We really need to be heard by the people in charge, I guess. And we need those people to start seeing us as actual human beings who are giving up on their dreams, who are giving up on a lot of things we care very deeply and strongly about. And it's a very harsh reality. It's really hard to face those choices between education and between between education or work and between religious choices, and we should not have to face those choices, and we need all the support we can get from all around the world to be heard and to be seen and to be seen as human beings.
Yeah, I think because again, maybe for now it happened in Belgium, but the next day could happen anywhere. So we really believe that this thing actually need to be voiced out to the public. So we do have the awareness regarding this. So I think we are gonna end our interview session. Thank you so much, Sarah. So let's say that if you have any, maybe additional information that you would like to share us, please do just contact us, and then we would like to be able to help you and our brothers and sisters as much as possible. So thank you so much. Have a very good day, and Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.